We're live. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're okay. Coming from the upstairs studio thing of I don't know what the hell I'm going with this. I'm just gonna stop. Here we are. We're live again. It is show number 15. Show 15. That's 15 shows.
Yeah.
It's 15 shows, and we're still going. We still keep finding something to talk about, probably because people just keep giving us shit to talk about.
Right.
Anyway, I'm Mike.
And I'm Keith.
And today we have special guest
Greg.
Greg has decided to join the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Okay, I'm done. Sorry, I was a little overboard.
Yeah. That's okay.
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Okay, so Greg has heard numerous shows. He's a close friend of ours. We've known the guy. Well, Keith, you've known Greg since what, pre-K?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am the outsider, if you will, of this group because I came in. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but Keith invited me to his wedding the second day I ever met the guy. And then through Keith, actually, no, I met you because of school that we don't mention.
That's right.
And I met Keith afterward, and then I found out that you guys knew each other, and it really flipped me out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that's a short story to it. I will probably just do one of these deals so you
Okay.
can talk.
That sounds great.
Okay. And I'll just keep it right in front of your face, and because I found that it was easier to keep control of the microphone when I actually had it in my hand. So I don't know. Do you want to introduce Greg before he goes on? I mean,
Oh, yeah, sure. Why not? I know Greg in the biblical sense. No, just kidding. No, Greg and I have known each other for years, just like was stated. We played football together. We had a lot of mutual friends, and we were friends. And so, yeah, this is Greg. He's a great guy, and I love him.
how does that make you feel?
Very special. In a lot of places.
The bromance is budding.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, Greg, you know how it's been for 14 shows now. Every time we have a guest on, they get to tell us their origins story, because it's more fun to say origins. So,
As opposed to...
I don't know. I just think of comic books when I hear origin story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you go to town.
All right. So, listening to your guys' first show, I think my upbringing was actually kind of somewhere right between the middle, which is kind of interesting to me. Things like people I know, not a whole lot of them probably have the same differences in their two parents that I do. I have my mother, who is, she probably consider herself more spiritual than religious. She doesn't really attend church on a regular basis, but she definitely does consider herself a Christian. She definitely believes in God. And I have my father, who is, while I don't know that he would necessarily consider himself an atheist, he's very secular. He's, always staying up with the, whatever's happening in the world of science, new advances in technology. I remember as a young child, my mom would be pushing us to go to church on Sunday morning, getting us dressed and ready. And we lived literally right across the street from the church. So it's hard to make an excuse to not get there. And my dad would kind of maybe a dick move on his part. I don't know. He didn't want to go, so he'd be like, "Hey, let's go out to breakfast instead." And he'd get us all out to breakfast, so he didn't have to go to church. So I kind of have, that being tugged in two different directions just from my, parents. So for most of my life, didn't really even put much thought into it, I suppose. remember one point in high school and early college years, I became fairly religious, went to church all the time, was involved with the popular youth group movement that kind of swept through our high school. And then...
Did you? I remember the big prayer circle that would happen before school. That even though I was still a believer, I would and walk by it. Were you part of that?
I may have been sometimes. Yeah, I may have been. And
I'm just picturing Keith, just like losers.
Well, that was my like metal phase, when I just started playing guitar and stuff. So I was kind of like not. I mean, I was just rebellious at that point. But go ahead. I don't want to step on your story, man.
No, you're fine. And well, it's funny you say that because I realized later in life that was the reason I was really doing that. Because that was kind of the popular thing to do, it was just the thing to do. So a little later, kind of once again, it's not on the front of my mind. And then I don't even really remember the moment, if there was a necessarily moment, but I kind of had this thought, like, when I started getting back into, so let me back up a little bit. Early in my life, as far as my academic yearnings or, scholastic things, whatever I wanted to study, I was very interested in science. That's all throughout high school, I always excelled in all the science classes, and I didn't necessarily care that much about any other classes. And when I got to college, I found out that science is hard, and I switched my major to history. I loved history too, still do, but I started, fairly recently getting really back into science, and it's made me realize that I don't care. It's not so much about, see, when you talk about religion, it's, for me, it's asking questions that I'm not even concerned with. Mm-hmm. The science asks questions about the natural world and the natural universe around us. We want to be able to observe, measure it, and that's all I'm interested in, is learning more about what we can.
Damn phone.
Sorry.
It's something I've known for a long time about myself, but I think I had a hard time admitting it to myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense.
So, there's only one other person besides my wife now who I've ever even knows that about me. It's someone else we went to school with. I'm still close friends with. Mm-hmm. But it's just, until recently, I didn't even bother to tell anybody because it's really not that important to me. Mm-hmm. It's not something I'm concerned with until I hear people babble bullshit.
Yeah.
That holds back all of humanity.
Exactly.
Then I get a little upset when they use their antiquated mythos to keep us all back. But I guess in a nutshell, that's my origin story. Mine isn't as long as others have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Justin did go on for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't know. Adam may have gotten on for a little while.
Yeah, Adam's was long. I'm sure mine was long. Everything I do is long.
Well, ours were, you and I I think it was a whole show based on that, so.
Yeah.
But James, I think he just kind of, I believe in Jesus, and that's that.
Yeah, he didn't really go too far into it, but I have a lot of parallels, like with Greg here, is in that somewhere in the back of my mind, I think I knew the whole time that there was something amiss about all of this, and I think I mentioned that in the first show,
Right.
But I did go through phases where I think I genuinely believed, and I've said that a million times, and I'm pretty sure you did too. I mean, I remember in high school when you went through your Christian phase. I actually do remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt like I did believe, and I did at those times. But at the same time, even during those phases, I always had those questions.
Yeah.
You know, there was always those things in the back of my mind, like, this doesn't make sense. Why? I don't. It's contradicting itself here, and you know, there was so much doubt always there.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm supposed to have faith like a child and have blind faith, but yet that same creator gave me
The ability to reason.
right, you know, logic and intellect and, you know, and ancient, you know, some of the Renaissance Christian philosophers even said would argue that was God's greatest gift to us. So God's greatest gift to us was our ability to realize that he does not exist, apparently.
Right. It's so contradictory because to say that is something that is God's greatest gift to us, you find all throughout the Bible things about, like you said, faith like a child. You'll also lean not on thine own understanding, things like that. Like, this is what we found in the physical world. Should we not lean on that? It obviously works. I mean, we're broadcasting this show over the internet every single week.
We're sending electrons into the air that you are capturing.
Yes. We've leaned on our own understanding, and it's gotten us pretty far.
Yeah. We've done all right on our own.
I think so.
I don't disagree at all.
Yeah. Well, I know you don't. We're all just preaching to the choir here.
Well, it was amusing because when we first got into the room, you know, I've known Greg obviously for quite a while, and I've known for that long while that we're both open-minded individuals, but I had never actually asked him where he sits in the idea of a God in existence. I mean, I know that, you know, because as we talked in the beginning, Greg, you said that when we start the show, we'd hold hands and
let us pray.
But yeah, so today I guess was the first day that I've ever actually heard you say that you were an atheist, which was.
Yeah, I've never actually heard you say that either.
Yeah, it's one of the first times I've really said it to anybody, I guess. Like I said, the one friend, you probably know who I'm talking about, from high school. He's known for a few years, and then I actually just had the conversation with my wife just a couple of weeks ago.
How did she take it?
It was funny. So my wife's a Christian, but she's very private about her faith, and the same stuff that pisses us off pisses her off also. For a lot of the same reasons and some different reasons. Some of it is, hey, you're making me look bad here. But, and she has a lot of the same doubts and questions that we have all had. We talked about that a little afterwards, but it was funny. I just asked her, I said, do you know that I don't believe the same thing you do? And I was so terrified to ask her that question.
Yeah.
And she just looked at it and she just laughed and said, yeah, of course I do.
You know, that's the funny thing is you, especially over Facebook, it's not much of a mystery. Just like in your tone and basically in the type of articles you share, I think one could draw that conclusion pretty easily. But let me just. Okay. But
we just had a name sharing. That's what the silence was for.
The gradual, and that's good that it was that easy for you. Mine had to come in a gradual way with my wife because she told me one time, she might kill me for saying this, back when we were together early on, that if I ever were to become an atheist, that she doesn't know if she could stay married to me. And
well, how did that conversation pop up? I mean, were you questioning things?
We were probably, I think this is when we were watching Religulous. And because I was very compelled by that show, by that documentary.
That is an excellent documentary.
Yeah. And she was actually a little shaken by it too, but she chose to, that's all right. But I think she could tell that the wheels were turning in my head, and she kind of brought that up. But then, so I was terrified as well, and I actually, I think that's why I went through so many different phases on my way up, because, you know, I went through I I believe in God and Jesus, but I don't think the Bible's like anything, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like where James is now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
then I don't believe in the Bible at all. I don't think Jesus was the Son of God, but I still think there's a God. I guess I'm a deist.
Yeah, I kind of went through a deist phase too, like
Right.
I think there's a God, but he's not an intervening God. He's just kind of like, poof, this is all there, and I'm going to step away.
Exactly.
That doesn't really make much sense either.
Right. And then the next phase, I'm just more of an agnostic.
Yeah.
And then finally I'm like, I just don't believe in God. As in terms of knowledge, we can all say that we're agnostic, but atheism is a position of whether you believe or not. It doesn't mean that you know that there's no God.
Exactly.
Because we can't know that.
Right.
But but it was a gradual thing, and finally I think there was a breaking point in her head when she realized, oh fuck, a lot of things that he's bringing up I agree with.
It makes sense.
Yeah, and that's where I finally was able to just, I'm sorry, I'm an atheist. Did I say her name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I?
Hey!
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a local businesswoman, so I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know if she wants to.
I will say my favorite story regarding your wife was the plane trip. And she happened to be sitting in the seat next to me. Should I even be bringing this up? Maybe I should just cut it.
I don't think that she would care.
She's sitting in the seat next to me, and at that point in time, it was obvious within our group that I didn't believe, even though I didn't really talk about it a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she was nervous as it was, and she suddenly didn't feel comfortable sitting next to an atheist on a plane.
Yeah, she has incredible flight anxiety.
Well, I mean, your argument to that, she's nervous, but don't worry, you're safe with me. There's no soul to be taken here. God's not going to waste his time with me.
Yeah, but now she's not as sure as I am about things. She's not but she's pretty close to us. I'd say.
Yeah, I think along with your wife, as I told you, I wasn't sure whether she knew. I think it was pretty obvious that she had to know how we felt about things, especially like myself and my wife. So I was a little bit nervous. I mean, halfway through our conversation at dinner that one night that I was just talking to you about I'm thinking to myself, Holly and I this conversation went this direction. I'm like, I hope I'm not pissing his wife off.
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing for me was, as we're speaking about wives, I think a year or so before we got married, we were on our way back home one night from somewhere, and we got into some really deep philosophical conversation, and then as we're pulling into our driveway, we both admitted to each other we were atheists.
That's awesome.
And that we thought that all it was religion was used as a way to control the masses.
Were you both just super relieved?
Oh, it was huge.
Yeah.
It was just amazing because every girl I dated before that were Christians, and I'd actually promised them that if we got married and had kids, I would go to church with them. And I wished I hadn't said that, because every time I went into a church, I just felt like it was fake.
Yeah.
Beautiful structures and, things like that. And I loved the community, but it was everything else. It was bullshit.
What does it say about Midwestern culture that we have to be so afraid to just say who we are? Like, that's how ingrained religion is in the culture here. Like, people that we know and love, we're on pins and needles, just palms sweaty, shaking. Like, that's how I was when I would tell certain people about this. Even some of my close friends who I knew weren't going to turn me away for that. I was still nervous to tell them when I realized this about myself. Except for you, I couldn't wait to tell Mike.
I was the one I was the bad influence. I've said this to you a number of times, Keith. I think sometimes I've noticed you're not the only person. I've had a bunch of people come to me to tell me this because
You kind of look like Jesus.
which is what's hilarious. I get so many people talking about that. It's like, man, you already look like Jesus. But I don't know. People come to me and immediately tell you. I've had that happen more than once where somebody decided to come out to me as an atheist or being a secularist or whatever. In fact, it happened the other day. it was just, I was like, wow, where'd that come from? What's going on here? Maybe I need to walk around more people and show them the light. I don't know.
Didn't you go as Jesus for Halloween
Yes.
some years back?
Yes, I did. And
That's amazing.
Somebody, I had the toga, the beard, the long hair and everything, and somebody happened to be going as Satan, and I took the horns and put them on, and I finished the night as the Antichrist.
That's
That is
badass.
amazing.
Well, our friend Phil one time went as zombie Jesus and actually offended one of our Christian buddies at the party.
That's great.
Yeah, Phil's like, oh, I'm sorry, I just thought it was funny.
And then, I could just picture him laughing. Okay, so fantastic. Well, welcome
Yes, Greg, welcome
to the realm of evildoers.
you heathen, you.
It seems like we have a rather large group of atheists. I don't know how this happened.
It just all of a sudden exploded in our group. Like,
actually, I'm kind of curious. I don't know when you found out about us doing the podcast, but was there a level of excitement? Because I knew that you wanted to get on the show, but I don't know what the story is for that with you.
Well, I think you sent me an invite for the Facebook page, probably fairly soon after you started it, I imagine. There's a couple months went by before I started listening or anything, and then I, started clicking on it. I listened to that first one. I was like, I found myself, I'm sitting at work, and I'm listening to this, and of course I have to hit pause or mute as certain people walk by, because I know what their beliefs are, and I don't want, I know they'll get offended, and I don't want to do that. Okay, I get that. So I'm sitting here listening, and I find myself wanting to be like interject my own thoughts and stuff into things you're talking about, make points to go off of the point you just made, and I just found myself wanting to constantly contribute. I kind of want to go on the show.
yeah. Oh,
That makes me happy.
yeah. That's really the purpose of the show, is just like, one of the purposes is for people that I would think, especially people around this area of the country, to know you're not alone. Let's stop being quiet about this.
Yeah.
You don't have to be apologetic or quiet about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the funny thing is the show is called Being Humanist. It's not outright in your face, I'm an atheist.
No.
But at the same time, there's still, obviously that's what we talk about a good majority of the time. And yeah, just the same as you, Greg, I have a tendency, I think Keith is getting more and more comfortable. He's actually liked our Facebook page. I still haven't.
Yeah.
I control the damn thing, and I haven't liked it. It's just a matter of, I don't want to offend the wrong person. I don't want to, I take that back. I don't want to offend anyone, but then there's this other part of me that says, you should do this anyway so that people get a taste of that. It's just, it goes against my nature to offend somebody.
And I agree. I'm the same way. And I'm in a different position from the two of you because I don't live in the same town, so I'm not as closely it's tied to the community as the two of you are. So I have a little more freedom to be like, I don't care if they all hate me in this town, it doesn't bother me any. I still have family up here. They don't necessarily know my beliefs. They probably have a good indication. They've never asked me, so I've never told. I have a feeling my brother's probably very similar because we have a similar thought process in a lot of ways. But, so I guess I'm a little... At first, the first few shows when you guys were hiding your names, I was like, you guys, no, just go out there. But I understand why. Obviously, you guys have legitimate reasons.
I'm almost annoyed that we did that, but I understand it too, why we did it.
But, it's not like... being from this community, I understand how you would get treated if you were just 100% open, honest, didn't care what, and you're just like, oh, this, blah, 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 making comments to everybody, letting everybody know. There could be tremendous backlash in this community. There are people in this community that are very evangelical, very right wing that have a lot of power and pull within the community. So
It's true.
it's sad, but
I think in that same regard, as I've come out further and further on my own self, not within the show. Like I haven't made a connection with myself in the show with most people. Obviously, us, the guests that we've had on the show and whatnot. But I have become more open on Facebook about it within my community.
Yeah, definitely.
And people are noticing, and they're having conversation with me. So there isn't an overwhelming, what the hell's wrong with that person?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting a lot of that. It's just like the gay wedding that I did. When I decided I didn't want to hold it in because I cared for these people and I wanted to share their story, I went ahead and posted the pictures. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a long intro story to talk about it so that I wouldn't have people so upset and they could understand the point of view and why I decided to do it. And I got so much positive feedback from that. It just blew my mind. I didn't get anything negative, and I got positive things from people that I didn't expect to get positive neutral from.
You got a lot of positivity when you declared yourself an atheist to everyone too.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't a huge negative reaction
to
it.
Maybe I'm worried about nothing. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to ask you both this question before we move on, because I know we probably should do that soon.
Yeah, we got 26 minutes so far.
Now, for me, and I'm sure you too, Greg, since you did have a moment in your life that you were a believer, the time that you can, if you're like me, you can remember the exact time that you just realized, fucking, I'm an atheist. And I don't believe in any of this stuff. Was it not one of the most liberating feelings you've ever had in your life to be able to just admit that to yourself?
Yeah, I feel like, and I don't want to draw any ill comparisons or anything, but I feel the first thought I honestly had was, this must be how it feels for a gay person to come out of the closet.
Yeah.
That's exactly like, I just feel like,
right.
When I had the conversation with my wife, for example, I was just like, for the next week, I was just like, oh, finally.
Yeah.
I don't have to, pretend something that's not,
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I was pretending to believe necessarily. I just wasn't being open that I didn't.
Right.
So I was like, ugh.
Did you have any periods where you would not even admit it to yourself in your own head? Because I had that going on. Like, it would come into my head, but I would push it aside. Like, no, I can't think that. I can't. Like, I had an internal battle going on in my own brain, which made the admission of it to myself the most liberating moment. That's basically what I'm saying. Yes, telling other people was great, but I'll never forget the time I admitted it to myself. Like, I actually, I'm gonna make myself sound like an emotional weenie over here, but I actually shed tears over it. Like, because I struggled with religion. It stifled me as a person. And losing it has just turned my life around in so many positive. Look, I'm not a fat ass anymore. I mean, I've got all these things together, and I really think it's the confidence that I gained from religion.
From being you. From being you, yeah.
From just being me.
Right.
And it's amazing.
I don't know that I don't know that I can pinpoint one, boom, I don't believe,
Yeah.
The doubts were definitely always there, and I think it just kind of drifted away.
Yeah.
Over time, the more and more I thought about it, the more I realized I don't need this. This doesn't serve any purpose for me.
Right. That's cool. I mean, I was just curious because I guess mine wasn't. I always had the doubts too, but I did have that moment where I finally said, just stop fighting it. Just, you are what you are. And that's why I can pinpoint that certain moment. I can't actually pinpoint the moment that you know what I mean?
Well, see, it's been interesting for me too, because over the last half year, since we started the show 4 months ago, October, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, we had been talking all summer. You were going through a huge phase just through the summer, trying to get to the point where we are now,
right?
In which you're super comfortable about yourself, and I mean, I made that description to you that it's probably got to be just like coming out as a game.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember, this is all within the last 6 months between Keith and I. The last summer was pretty intense for Keith. It was constant. Between the two of us, I don't know. I don't know that I want to call myself a coach, but I felt like I was always there to tell him, like, just do it.
Yeah.
Do it, man. Just do it.
Well, I'm gonna get mushy here again, but I have to say that Mike will forever be one of the most important people in my life for all that he's done for me and I'm being serious, man, getting me through all of that. Like, if you weren't there, I don't know how I would have handled it.
I'm gonna cry. No, but I'm not. It's weird for. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's just weird for me to hear people talk about me like that. But anyway, seriously, right here, man, right here.
Mike's a softie.
Yeah. Anyway, I suppose we should kind of move on. We've got a little bit to talk about, and I think we're going to have to try to do this deal where, as we start the podcast, we give a brief overview of what we're going to cover, and then go into it, as opposed to just kind of go as we go.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, we can always try new things. We're a constantly evolving show. Oh, that talks about evolution possibly too much.
The title of this show, we were joking around saying, "Weed kills Greg." We ran into a really fantastic article of an officer of the law in Colorado. Police chief. The headline is "Police Chief Argues Weed Killed 37 People in Colorado," and he cites outlet that just made it up.
It was a satire. The article that he read and took that information from was actually a satire. So like it was a fake on purpose. It was supposed to be humorous, and because we all know that no one has ever been killed by marijuana in the history of mankind, as far as we know. So, and this kind of harkens back to remember a few weeks ago you went on a rant about people.
Oh man,
people checking their sources and things like that, making sure the article is credible,
finding conspiracy theory sites and whatnot to get their story across. But I mean, really, the article that he got it from, or the paper online news source that he got it from, was the Daily Currant, which may have been the same one that I was talking about a few weeks back.
Maybe.
I'm gonna read this quote. This is a very short article because it was just humorous and there's not much to it. But the quote is, "The first day of legalization, that's when Colorado experienced 37 deaths that day from overdose on marijuana," said Annapolis, Maryland Police Chief Michael Pristoop while testifying against legislation to decriminalize cannabis in Maryland. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't Colorado at all if I said that. According to the Capital Gazette, quote, "I remember the first day it was decriminalized. There were 37 deaths." Pristoop was quickly corrected by State Senator Jamie Raskin, the Gazette notes, who pointed out that the statistic was from the satirical newspaper The Daily Currant. Quote, "If it was a misquote, then I'll stand behind the mistake," Pristoop said. "But I'm holding on to information I was provided." End quote. Now, see, Greg, you and I had a brief conversation about this, and I think this is some kind of one of the things that riles you up too, right?
Yeah, check your sources, people. If you read something on the internet, you need to do a little homework into who published that web page, who the author is, their credibility. But then again, until I'm informed otherwise, I'll stand by what I was provided.
Oh, I see what you did there. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be really nice to see people stop presenting false information as
Right.
news.
You know, especially on this subject, I went through a strong marijuana advocate phase, just because I think it's bullshit that it's illegal. I mean, if you think about it, when you read the arguments, it really is just kind of BS that it's illegal. Something that, even more so that it's a Schedule 1 drug. That meaning that's right up there with cocaine and heroin, and come on.
Right, and it's effectively less than or at most the same potency as tobacco, right?
Right.
Probably less harmful because if you took out all the additives of tobacco and just dried a tobacco leaf and smoked it, it would be equivalent of that.
Right, and so far there's been no evidence, no conclusive evidence that would show that marijuana has carcinogenic properties, like it doesn't cause cancer. And the toxicity level of it is so much lower than alcohol,
which is perfectly legal.
Yes. And how many times have you awakened with a massive headache and vomiting and from drinking the night before?
Right. Typically, when I ingest a lot of alcohol, I tend to make very poor decisions that affect my wallet.
Yeah. Now sometimes
it doesn't necessarily happen as well.
Now you will.
There's much.
When you smoke marijuana, you do tend to make bad decisions that affect the size of your ass.
Right.
But like eating. But you know what? You could smoke 5 or 6 bowls of whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And wake up the next day maybe feeling a little retarded, but you're not gonna be sick.
I may have ate a lot of groceries, but I probably didn't buy a bunch of stupid bullshit on the internet.
Right.
And spend $400 on records that I shouldn't have.
No. I've done that.
I feel like I'm learning something about the two of you right now.
Yeah.
On the account of marijuana, I got nothing because I've never done it. However, on alcohol,
No, me either.
one of us was sarcastic. One of us was not. But then on alcohol, I don't know if I've really done anything horrifyingly stupid, but I'm not going to say I haven't either. I know I ran around your house naked one time.
That you did.
There's been a lot of nudity that has resulted from alcohol. In my home,
and
quite
just
a bit.
in your home, yes, alone. I remember I streaked down the highway.
Oh my God.
One day.
There was this.
Right outside your home.
Yes. I just remember one time we were playing, I think we had to be like 22, 23.
Yeah.
We were playing Truth or Dare, and everyone was drunk. And somebody just mentioned taking their clothes off, and Greg's like, I'll do it. And he strips completely down just right there, just
Greg
standing
was
in my living room.
the first one to take them off.
It's hilarious. And then our friend Doug points at him and says, this man has no pubes.
Our show just took a really weird turn.
We got personal. I'm sorry, Greg. If you don't want that out there, we can always nix that. I don't know.
That's all right.
Okay. But how did this pot story go to nudity?
It wasn't the pot, it was the alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. Yes, we're pointing out examples of alcohol making you do stupid things. Weed, on the other hand, I feel like just for me, it makes me want to get the old telescope out and contemplate the universe, and it makes me want to watch the Science Channel and eat.
Definitely less
Taco Bell
dangerous
sounds
than
delicious.
alcohol. A lot less dangerous.
A lot, yeah. But I mean, that wasn't even really the point of this article. The point of this article is check
your resources.
Yeah.
Check your sources, yes.
Yeah. I just had to get my jabs in there.
Man, that might have been the funniest 3 minutes we ever had on the show. Maybe. And we just gave a lot of personal information. I can't.
But I doubt that I doubt that that's nothing that a lot of people who would be listening to the show haven't done.
I was going to say, and as far as nudity goes, I mean, that's what God gave us, right?
He did. He did, yeah. You know he did.
Oh, God, excuse me, I'm sorry. Hold on to this for a second.
Oh, Mike, get it together.
Oh, man, this is... I'm sorry, I apologize, everyone. Okay, so
that was our fun story for the day.
that was first. That was the first one. We got another one after a while. It's not really a story, but it's an idea. But call it serendipity. I don't know what you want to call it. This morning I wake up and my my stepfather posted a story on Facebook that got my attention. And being that Greg here has very strong feelings about global warming, I thought, holy shit, this story couldn't have been presented to me in more clear, serendipitous, oh my God, God gave this story to me because it only makes sense. The story is actually, I think it was written in 2012, so it's kind of old, but for whatever reason, my stepdad ran across it today. It was written by Victor Stinger, or Stinger. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. He's a physicist, PhD, best-selling author, author of God and the Folly of Faith. I will read this first paragraph. As I was telling you guys earlier, part of me wanted to read the whole damn thing on the show, but it's about a 20-minute out loud read. It's a very good, interesting article, but I'll read this first paragraph, and you'll get an idea of where it's going. And it's from a talk on March 4th, 2012, at the Center for Free Inquiry meeting called Moving Secularism Forward, and it was in Orlando, I guess. So he says, I want to talk about a particular group of secularists, scientists, and their interaction with religion. Most scientists prefer to stay out of any conflicts with religion. They don't want to endanger their sources of research funding and generally just don't want to be bothered. They have better things to do, or at least they think they do. The whole article is basically, I think what struck me with this whole article is a lot of it feels like I wrote it. I mean, it really centers around my path to where I've gotten. He talks a lot about the powers that be. They have their power and they keep their power by using religion and controlling the masses. And his whole argument, I think, is, even though it's only really mentioned once, he was talking about a nuclear power plant that would be super safe. Did you get to that?
Yeah, he's talking about thorium reactors.
I don't know much about thorium. Do you?
It's a little. It's well, not a little. It's a lot less dangerous than uranium, and you can't make bombs with thorium.
Right.
It's.
At least that's what the article told me.
Yeah. Well, but basically what the thing with thorium is you're not going to, like the article, I believe it says you wouldn't have seen a Chernobyl or a Fukushima.
3 Mile Island.
Yeah, I mean it's just that we have ignored so many alternatives, and it is really easy to, and I'm not going to say that these people are stupid. They're just misguided. It is very easy to mislead people who are deeply religious, especially I think in the area of something like climate change, because their thought process is, well, why do we need to worry about this? God's just going to come back and end the world anyway. And they truly believe this, and I think it's easy to lead them in a direction that would benefit oil companies.
Right.
And
I think that's
part of the article's point.
Yeah, that's what it really goes into. The powers that be are making their money because of burning fossil fuels and whatnot, even though it's obvious and science has shown that there are other sources of energy that are better. And it goes on and it talks about how while science has done all these great things, science has also done bad things. I mean, we had the Industrial Revolution. We figured out how to burn fossil fuels so that we could have cars. While, I mean, it was progress, we were learning, but we learned from our mistakes and whatnot. So the article kind of goes on about that, and it goes on about trying to make a correlation between global warming and evolution or creationism as 2 points for the religious right, if you will, to have something to go against, I guess.
To deny.
Right.
The part of the article that I like, when he was talking about climate change and evolution and how the power structure on the religious right side of the political spectrum uses their influence to create controversy, and they introduce bills that say, well, we should teach the controversy in science classes, teach the evolution controversy, teach this climate change. We should teach both sides equally.
Right.
When there really is no controversy in the scientific community about either of these topics.
Right.
And the analogy he uses, I think, was that would be like saying we need to debate equal time to flat Earth geography.
Right.
Geology.
Yeah, that's in essence what they're saying when they're saying that. There's no controversy here.
No, there's not. There's just people with lots of money planting seeds of doubt, and the disgusting part about this is because of things like Citizens United, we have them using our politicians to push these agendas onto us, and so we have our own leaders of our country denying these things to the public.
Right.
It's a bad situation.
It's really bad. And I don't know. I actually, in one of my classes, had a really short paper I had to write about this, and it was about science and politics and the interaction between science and politics. And being a former history political science major, I could have written like 15 pages, but she wanted like 2. So, but I don't know if it's that these politicians actually believe what they're saying, or if they're just pandering to the lobbyists, or if they're pandering to their constituents. And, if you're a representative from, a Bible Belt district,
sure.
If you're like, no, evolution is real,
it's going to be harder to get those votes.
It's going to be a lot harder to get reelected.
Yeah.
If you're like, no, climate change is real and God is not going to save us. Because that's the other argument I've heard about climate change. Oh, God wouldn't allow that to happen to us. He promised he wouldn't flood the earth twice.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah. So,
I think what bothers me though is the whole idea of CO2, not being harmful.
Yeah. There is a certain amount of CO2 that can be in the atmosphere and not be harmful, but it becomes harmful.
Yeah.
It absorbs heat.
Is it Michelle Bachmann who made the comment that it wasn't a poisonous gas?
Yes, and she said that we could use more of it. I think it was her or somebody who said we could use more of it. That's a stupid comment.
I think what confuses me more than anything about the whole situation is, obviously we're burning fossil fuels, and seriously, go stand in front of a tailpipe, just sit right in front of a tailpipe and breathe it in. How long will you last?
Is that carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide? Tailpipe. I think that might be carbon monoxide.
I think that's carbon monoxide, but
yeah, but it's the same. I get your analogy.
Yeah. We exhale carbon dioxide. If you breathe it in, you will die.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No.
Another thing is why we should also have a problem with all this deforestation, because these trees are actually taking in this carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen.
Right.
So this deforestation is a problem. It's actually part of the problem. Our own emissions are a huge part of the problem, but a lot of people, you do also have to look at that deforestation problem in conjunction with it.
So while I don't know necessarily all the science behind it, I understand when reputable scientists will stand up there and tell you with a consensus of all the other scientists that this is happening.
Yeah.
And I understand, it makes sense that this is bad. My whole philosophy goes to why do bad things to the planet when it's our only home? That takes me back to Carl Sagan, right? It's just why not take care of what you have, especially when it's all you got?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. Is we're so, the debate for if anthropogenic climate change is real, if it is caused by humans, has in the forefront so much that we have put that to the side. Like, why wouldn't we just take care of it? Why wouldn't we go for the cleanest energy anyway to give ourselves the cleanest air to think about that spill that happened in West Virginia, whatever that shit was that washed the coal.
Yeah, people couldn't use their water for weeks.
Yeah. Why wouldn't we want to move away from things like that?
Yeah. It reminds me of the cartoon I saw online. It's, global climate change summit, and it has all, these bullet points outlined, and the guy stands up like, wait a second, what happens if we change the world for better for no reason?
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, I think ethically there is no question. There is no ethical framework in which you can argue that we should not try to improve the treatment of our planet.
Absolutely. And we are causing it. I mean, it's just basic. Like, the concept of it is basic.
It is so climate change science, while it is complicated, the basics of it are very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas.
Yes.
The Earth, it's what is referred to as a radiation balance. The Earth absorbs energy from the sun, and it also radiates energy back out into space.
Right.
Carbon dioxide, along with a couple other gases, reflect that energy that the Earth is radiating and radiate back down to the Earth.
Right.
It traps that energy into the Earth.
Sidebar, not a thermodynamically closed system. Keep going.
Yes. So, just actually, this was pretty recently. This was I think it was 2013, this last year, that the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere reached over 400 parts per million. Mm-hmm. It's now back down under that, but it's right at 400. That is the highest it's been in 4.5 million years.
Yeah, it's unprecedented.
This is the other thing that climate change deniers will say is, oh, well, the climate has, naturally cyclical. We get warm, the Earth warms and cools on its own naturally, which is true.
Mm-hmm. It is cyclical,
but we've had many of those cycles in the last 4.5 million years.
Right.
And none of which have experienced carbon dioxide levels this high.
No.
And and like Keith, you mentioned with the deforestation, that makes it an exponential problem, because
Absolutely.
On top of you're putting more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, you're also natural world is also drawing less of that out. Mm-hmm. The other thing that doesn't get talked about as often, but is starting to gain some traction, is climate change's ugly cousin, ocean acidification.
That's terrible, yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that the ocean actually absorbs a lot of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And when the ocean absorbs it, it creates carbonic acid, which is destroying coral habitats. And as the ocean warms, it releases more carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So it's a compounded effect. If we stopped, I saw this in an article the other day, if we stopped emitting all carbon dioxide, burning fossil fuels, stopped it tomorrow, the Earth would still continue to warm for another 20 to 50 years.
Based on what we've
already done.
That's bleak.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's...
I just got severely depressed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I kind of want to roll. This is going to be boring for some, I think maybe, but I do want to roll through some stats that I took from
this other article.
Yeah, I figure we could bleed that into this.
Yeah, really goes hand in hand.
Yeah. If Mike, you want to, we're going to put that. We're going to put these links up. Yeah. But this is from the what was it? The Royal
Universe Today. Is that what you're talking about? Or am I on a different article?
No, this one was, Universe Today, you're right. But who was it that, the Royal Society and the U.S. National Academy of Science has actually collaborated on this, and this is the newest report. And I just took some of the highlights from that report. just so people can get an idea of what's going on here. Greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide absorb heat emitted from the Earth's surface. Increase in the concentration of such gases leads to warming by trapping more of the Earth's generated heat. Concentrations of atmospheric CO2 have increased by about 40% since 1970. Since 1900, the global average surface temperature has increased by about 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit, or 0.8 degrees Celsius for you Celsius people. Human activities have significantly disturbed the natural carbon cycle by extracting long-buried fossil fuels and burning them for energy, thus releasing CO2 into the atmosphere. This is for the people that want to say that there's been changes in the sun's output. Direct satellite measurements since the late 1970s show no net increase in the sun's output, while at the same time global surface temperatures have increased. It's significant to note that past climate changes have led to extinction of many species, population migrations, and pronounced changes in the land surface and ocean circulation. Present level of atmospheric CO2 concentration is almost certainly unprecedented in the past million years, during which time modern humans evolved and societies developed. 2 more points, sorry. Adding CO2 will only create further warming, it will not cease, and the surface temperature will continue to rise. Despite some talk of recent slowing of climate change, it does not invalidate our understanding of long-term changes in global temperature arising from human-induced changes in greenhouse gases. So this is all from the newest report. I mean, there is a high degree of certainty that we are causing this. A high degree of certainty. And it's almost consensus now among the scientific community. We're talking getting close to 100%. Like, I believe the last report was 97%. Right?
Yeah, it was 97.1. It was a recent study done. I think it may have been Gallup that did it.
Uh-huh.
They surveyed all scholarly climate change articles in all journals, and climate change science is interdisciplinary. So you have everything from physics to, earth sciences, geology, a lot of different disciplines. But in the last year, or the last year or two, there was only one author that did not agree with anthropogenic climate change.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went back further, I think it was like 15 years, and it was 97.1% of all the authors of all scholarly peer-reviewed articles on the subject agree in anthropogenic climate change.
And who would know better than climate scientists? Yet here we are debating this, and no, they're just making this up. It's an elaborate hoax.
Yeah, it's a hoax, and this is I watched I watched a lot of TED talks, TED talks. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that.
I watch TED talks.
Wonderful channel. It's great. But one is a short one where this lady is a grad student in climate change, and her talk was the title of the talk was how climate change headlines are made, or how science headlines are made. And her talk was very short, and all she's talking about really is the work that she's been doing. She's studying one molecule, and I can't remember off the top of my head what molecule that was, but one molecule in the atmosphere. And she's on this plane with 30 other scientists from around the world that are taking, atmospheric readings with this, highly advanced equipment, and she's working literally with hundreds of scientists across the globe studying one molecule. So you're telling me it's a hoax that all these scientists all over the world with all their different, political and world views are all signed on to this one hoax, and they're putting so much effort into this, into one molecule,
right?
That's going to coincide that just happens to reinforce every other scientist from every other discipline's findings. Yeah, it's a giant hoax. That's what it is.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It makes me think about people like Rush Limbaugh or whatnot who go on and on about the green. They talk as it's these scientists are all in it together so that they can make money off of the green movement. And I guess when I hear them say, here are these scientists they're trying to make money on the green movement. First thing for me is, well, okay, I don't care because it's obviously better for us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But number two is, what about oil and all the money that everybody's pouring in to try to make sure that that's what we stick with?
True.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I have a coworker who is one of these that believes that it's a political conspiracy to. He thinks it's one more way for the government to control us. He's like, the government wants to control how much carbon we emit. Like, could you really believe that these rich scientists commanding their salaries that are in the thousands of dollars are all conspiring against us? You can't perhaps believe that the companies who this is not in their best interests, that are all the richest companies in the world?
Sure.
I mean, up until the last, decade, when you looked at the top wealthiest people in the world, they're all, Saudi princes and oil tycoons,
Right.
I just don't understand how if you can believe one, you can't believe the other.
Yep.
Of course, then there's the frustration that we're not drilling at home enough. But I guess to me, it's why would this be a big deal? Where is the issue with wanting to create green energy? I don't understand what the big problem is with it. It just blows my mind. I mean, it's clean.
Yeah.
Granted, sure, it's gonna take so much to manufacture the material and whatnot. I mean, you still have to dig, obviously, for these different element.
Propaganda is a powerful thing, man. If you just think about how long, and I'm going to use this just as an analogy. I'm not going to start talking about weed again. But think about for how many years the propaganda. We're just now coming out of that. We're just now realizing, hey, we've been lied to for all these years.
Early 1900s?
Yeah. Like the 1930s is when it really ramped up with the whole Harry J. Anslinger camp.
Yeah.
But that's basically what's going on.
Reefer madness.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what's going on with this climate change thing, is we're witnessing the power of well-placed propaganda and a gullible public that's ready to lap it all up.
But why?
What
is it?
It's hard to pinpoint how it works out, because there's no, like, the average citizen has no interest in denying. There's nothing for them to gain
exactly
in denying climate change. But
I will say, though, if you don't deny it, then it's kind of scary.
Yeah,
it is.
It is.
So maybe that's the reason. People don't want to admit to it because
ignorance is bliss kind of mentality.
If I put the blinders on, this isn't there, then I don't have to be worried about
fingers
this
in the ears. La
la
la la la la la.
Yeah, I'm just really extremely confused by the mentality to not want to do things better.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me why people are so steadfast in trying to prevent these things from happening. It just.
And when we have these climate scientists who have dedicated their lives to this, telling us we can, even though it's like Greg pointed out, it's going to take a long, long time. We can reverse this. It is reversible. So why aren't we doing it? And, that's one point that I don't know how you guys are on our president. I'm not the biggest fan of our president, but I think he's done a pretty good job with the climate issue. I think he's come out and he said, look, there's no debate. This is happening. And we're causing it. And I know he's trying to move us in that direction, but he's got so much opposition. And I have to commend him for that. And I'm actually gaining a little more respect for him lately. Cutting back, I don't know how you feel as a military guy on this, but I feel strongly that our military budget is way too high. Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. And that they've cut back on it is a good thing. That they're getting ready to cut. You saw Dick Cheney's reaction to that. But.
Yeah, I agree too. And, a lot of my close friends would just be appalled that I say that. But come on, people. Our defense budget is greater than the next 5 nations combined.
Next 10, isn't it?
Actually,
yeah, I was going to say Jon Stewart.
He said 13. Jon Stewart said 13
Yeah,
last
he
week.
had a graphic up on a show from, I think that was the Thursday episode. I don't remember what, the 26th, the
Uh-huh.
26th or 27th of February, that episode, he had a graphic showing that, yes, the United States spends more money than the next 10 to 13 countries combined on military.
In the two places we should be pouring a lot of money, the things that move us, the things that move us forward, education and science,
Exactly.
their budgets are ludicrously low.
Right.
Ludicrously low.
And if you look at that list of the next, countries, I think there's only two countries on that list that are not allies.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to outspend our allies? Why? We know these people aren't attacking us. They're our friends.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that kind of goes right back to protecting American interests. If you, I mean, that's about the only thing I can figure out.
I
Is it
guess.
that? Is it policing? I mean, what? Because I don't know. Do you have a thought on that?
I think because American interest is basically, without getting too political here, I feel that the use of our military has basically become usurped by corporate interest as opposed to the interest of American freedom and liberty. We're protecting the interests of corporations abroad. We've been doing it for centuries. We did it in Central America when landowners said they're like, no, we don't want the dole plantations were big in Central America, obviously with fruits. And the governments tried to not privatize, but try to, it's the opposite of privatize. My vocabulary just took a shit. But the government said, okay, no, the land is ours. You can't be here anymore. And so we sent in our military.
Right.
To protect the Dole Corporation.
Silly. And you know what? Think about this. It's think of our global military presence. I feel like you can almost draw a correlation with, like, let's say, post-Republic Rome with provinces everywhere. Like it's like America has provinces all over the globe, even though we're not saying that out loud. We are actually contributing to the way things happen in these areas that our military is present.
Influence, yeah.
Yes, we have influence. And why are we still in Germany?
Yeah, that's what I was going to. We have a huge presence in Germany. Why?
Yeah.
Like, there's no threat there. There's no threat from Germany. There's no threat even geographically close to Germany.
Right.
So.
It's so empirical, this, like.
Yeah.
Ugh. We got way off topic again, didn't we?
Yeah, but at the same time, I like this topic because it frustrates me to no end.
Yeah.
While I understand that you want, I guess, you want a strong military presence so that you can at least protect yourselves from outside
of course
sources.
It's a necessary evil.
But at the same time, there's also that whole, you want to, when you see shit going on somewhere else, the violating human rights, there's a deep part of you that says, hey, that's not right. You need to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't know that military force is necessarily the way
it's not always the best answer.
I had this really fantastic idea, especially, I don't know if we actually talked about it on the show, but when, oh crap, what was we almost went into, what country was it? It was prophesied as the end of the world. Syria, yes.
Yeah, where we blue-balled John McCain and all of his...
When that whole conflict...
Stupid John Kerry and his big mouth.
When that whole conflict was going on, though, they were talking about, we were just about to invade, and, all the Republicans were like, yes, we need to go in. And then
some Democrats, too.
And then there was all kinds of religious people who were, like, ready for this because it meant that the end times were coming. And
the
all
destruction.
kinds of crazy stuff. And
Damascus,
to myself, Damascus. To myself, I was thinking I was like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if we did fly over? But when we flew over to do our traditional invade a country and make things right, we rather than dropping bombs, we dropped a bunch of roses and water and stuff that people might actually make them happy.
Yeah.
Just to fuck with the world's head.
That would be funny.
Just to make people look at it in a different manner and say, hey, you guys are being really stupid, and we just want to, show you some love. Kill it with kindness.
Absolutely.
Is that me being a hippie?
Yeah. but still.
Seriously, think about what would the world do if we did that? Can you imagine the response?
We'd probably be laughed at.
Yeah, I don't know what the response would be.
There might be some more enlightened areas of the world that would applaud.
I guess I look at it as do something that's totally unexpected, and I'm an idealist. I know it.
Drop puppies.
Yeah.
Puppies for everyone, but you're killing them.
Exploding. Oh my God, that just took the weirdest turn. I don't know. That's the way my mind thinks. It's like, why not do something different that actually helps people instead of dropping our military and just being a force.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think that if we spent more money on education and implementing the education, and even Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about how much money is being spent at NASA or how much was being spent there, because everybody's like, I can't believe we're putting so much money in NASA, and he explains it, and the just in the surface space of a dollar bill, comparing the dollar bill, the width of it to our gross national product, whatever. The amount of money that's put into NASA doesn't even reach the ink on the dollar bill on the border of it, and
peanuts is NASA's budget. I mean,
it's why aren't we putting money there? And I think that can even go into the prison system too, because we spend so much money on the prison system. Why aren't we educating these people? Because it's socialism if we spend that much money in there.
You know how I feel about the prison system. I think it sucks. So I don't think we're doing enough to rehabilitate our criminals, and I don't think we're doing enough to reintegrate them into society. I think we're setting them up to fail.
That's exactly what we're doing, and that's really the only thing that we are the best in the world at, is putting people in prison. Honestly.
We are number one.
We are number. Woohoo!
Yay! We imprison more people than anyone.
There's two things that we're best at. We have the best military, and we have the best prison.
Well,
Yeah.
they cost about the same, so I don't know about it. I don't know if that's true or not. Just a little disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. We are not experts. I don't know. Those are the things that are frustrating to me. But like I say, I'm all about making sure that the soldiers are protected, and and for a country that's so fucking pro-military, we sure do a really good job of taking care of them when they get out.
Or not.
That's debatable.
Yeah. That's one of the it's a butt of several jokes. Is the veterans?
The VA.
VA.
I've been to the VA hospital in Indianapolis. My experiences weren't as bad as some people I know. It's actually the VA hospital in Indianapolis. You're actually pretty lucky if you get to go to that one, if that's the closest one, because it's attached to the IU Health Center. So the quality of the care is pretty high, but it's just the fact that you have to schedule appointments months out because they're just so inundated. There's just so many people trying to get in there. There's so many veterans that's their only source of health care, is to go to a veterans hospital. And I think the statistic is something like 30 or 40%. It might even be higher. I'm not 100% sure what the statistic is of homeless people or veterans. That's
sad.
Pretty sad. There are some things that, in some ways veterans are well taken care of. We have great education benefits, and stuff like that. And I think the spirit is there, but the organizations that have to administer these benefits are just so undermanned that, if you submit a disability claim, which I know several of my friends have various disability claims they submitted, and most of them, it took well over a year for them to get a decision back on that.
Huh. That's, oof.
So you're waiting for a year, and if you are, truly, if it's a disability where you cannot work, a year without income is what makes people homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we kind of went on a tangent there.
We always do that. I think it's part of the charm of the show.
It's kind of depressing. I'd like to see some changes. I just like I said, being a country that's so pro-military, I really feel like there's a lot of stories out there. So anyway, climate change is real.
It's very real.
And whether you believe in it or not, wouldn't you rather live on a nicer, healthier, cleaner planet anyway? Yeah.
Yep.
I guess that's where I stand as a humanist. So I guess we could move forward and
talk about the next fun story. Well, it's not even a story,
okay,
really.
so-
It's just an idea.
Yeah, so if anyone follows George Takei on Facebook, George Takei, the famed outed Takei?
Yeah.
Takei?
He makes... the only reason I know that is because when he was on Celebrity Apprentice, he's like, Takei, like gay.
Takei.
Yeah. Rhymes with gay.
He is the...
I love that guy.
He was Sulu on the original Star Trek series.
Oh my.
And Keith is very good at that. Anyway, if you follow him on Facebook, you know that he and his partner / people who he has working for him or whatnot, he's a pretty humorous guy. I mean, he's got a hell of a sense of humor, but he's also an activist and all this. I mean, he wants people to, one, he's gay, so he's the human rights activist is there strong for him, but it's also strong for him because he was also in an internment camp back when he was a kid after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and they put all the Japanese in internment camps. But regardless, he posts a lot of really interesting, thought-provoking topics on his Facebook wall, and it was always just on his fan page, the George Takei fan page. But they've also started up a new one it says, "Oh my." So they have a new one that's more toward that. So anyway, he posted a tweet on the Facebook page, a tweet on his Facebook page. That was basically someone, the idea he shared it from was from a woman who goes under the name of @UndeadMolly on Twitter. I'm wondering how many extra followers she's had since he mentioned her name.
Probably quite a few.
But anyway, her idea was this. It's a new reality show. Gay marriage opponents must live under 100% biblical law to show us how awesome it is for up to like 6 months or something like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I read that and I thought to myself, well, this could be fun.
Yeah. Well, first off, we'd see lots of parents putting their children to death for disrespecting them.
I would place a wager stoning within the second episode.
Yeah. Yeah, easily.
Can we think of a title for the show? I want to call it Living Leviticus.
That's perfect. Oh, gosh. Living Leviticus. That's perfect.
That was actually in the comments. I saw that. I was scrolling through the comments, so I can't claim that as my own, but it was like one of 10th comment down. I was like, that is perfect.
That's too bad. I was hoping we would be able to claim ownership of that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
But that's okay. It's still freaking hilarious. Living Leviticus, is that what you said?
Living Leviticus.
So
Red Lobster would not be a place you could eat.
no Red Lobster. They wouldn't be able to wear clothing of mixed fabrics.
Right, and you would not be able to sow two seeds of a different kind in one field. So
Right.
No gardens. Gardens are outlawed. Let's see, what else would we have to do here?
I'm just trying to
Can't
imagine.
eat the cloven hoof. You cannot eat
No,
any
no.
cloven hoofed animal.
Nope, never.
No pork. No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's getting pretty restrictive already. No picking up sticks on the Sabbath.
Nope.
Old Moses. Ask God what he should do. You should take him without the camp and stone him to death.
Sounds like a swell guy.
Yeah, sure. What a good guy.
Can,
Oh, Yahweh. That crazy kook.
oh man, I'm trying to imagine what it would be like for the first public stoning. You know, what would there be? What would the attitude of the people be? Would it be a yeah, get him?
Oh, yeah. Don't forget, too, if you get leprosy, the blood of, I believe it was it doves? I can't remember the bird. I know there's some bird that you actually drain the blood from and you put it on the person's head, and that will cure them of their disease. So modern medicine's pretty much out of the question.
Yeah, it worked for me last year.
Yeah.
When I contracted leprosy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, hey,
Good.
testimonial right there. Good.
Oh my God.
The show's got to last over a month because we need to experience how they handle the not to get too graphic here, but the menstruation cycle, because you cannot sit in the same chair as a woman.
Sure.
who's
Yeah. Oh, you
menstruating.
can't. No, you can't.
No, absolutely not. They'd have to have their own separate chairs. Actually, I think they'd have to be pretty much segregated. Just, I mean,
We can jump into the New Testament too, and women are not allowed to speak in church. That if they have anything to say, they have to wait until after. So
yeah, we can't.
shut up, ma'am.
We can't let the woman folk expressing their opinions. That would be horrible, apparently.
Oh my God, there's so many things that could be really interesting with it. And no modern medicine. No modern appliances. I think if you're going to do this, you might as well do it right and make sure that they're living in those times conditions. What are you looking for something?
I am.
What are you looking for?
Just keep talking.
So I don't know. I think I would find this to be a very interesting concept to watch these people who are constantly going at those that they deem and judge as not being godly enough and whatnot, to force them to have to live in the conditions that would best suit what they're preaching.
I think it makes for good TV. I do. I think it needs to happen.
I agree.
I see this as being something that Bill Maher, or even better, George Carlin, would have jumped all over and made like perfect rules and all kinds of crazy shit that they'd have to deal with. But I would actually like to see Bill Maher do something with us today. Either that or even Patton Oswalt. I think he'd do a pretty good job with it too.
He would.
Yep.
Okay, so do we have anything else to add to this? Has it hit its end?
Just remember, kill anyone with a different religion.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
from
That's a big one.
Deuteronomy 17:2-7.
That is the most important rule.
Oh, absolutely. And you can't cut your hair or shave. That's Leviticus 19:27.
Oh,
That's pretty important too.
that is. But you definitely want to kill anybody with a different religion.
Oh, easy. You have to.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that one of the biggest gripes that Christians have against Muslims is like, they're told to kill the
Right.
infidels. It's right in your dumb book too.
Hey, you guys know we share half of the. We share a book. We share. It's,
Yeah. There's
The-
parts of,
all three monotheistic religions, there are books that are all shared. I think it's like the first 5 books of the Old Testament.
The law, yeah.
This is they're called
first-
the Pentateuch.
Yeah.
I think Brian Griffin might have something to say. Hey, let's not muddy the... Or no, it wasn't Brian. It was actually Jesus that is on the show. Brian said, well, isn't Islam basically the same thing? And Jesus says, hey, let's not muddy the waters now.
Yeah.
Well, that just got quiet. Okay. So maybe we should move on to the famed Right Wing Watch Roulette.
Yeah, we should for sure. We've got a doozy for you today, folks.
Okay, this is Keith. Keith spent all day looking for this particular.
I actually think it may have taken me 5 seconds.
Yeah, probably 5 seconds right before we started the freaking show.
It's not roulette. Roulette, you're really supposed to be random.
It was pretty. I guess technically it was pretty random though.
Yeah.
It was one of the first 2 clips that you had clicked on. So
Oh,
anyway,
sure.
um,
Oh, sure.
should we just play it, or should we say what the title is?
Just play it.
Just play it.
I want the part to be a surprise.
Okay.
Because it just really comes at you.
All right. Enjoy.
In this next week, this man shall begin to emerge. And in the following 2 weeks, which is a 3-week period, he shall slowly come to the fore. For they are saying, how do we kill the giant? How do we kill the giant of death? How do we kill the giant of socialism? How do we kill the giant of human secularism? I have placed that man amongst you. And God says, once you recognize the man that I have raised up, pray. For the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. Did anybody hear what he just said? For Jezebel has chased away the prophets and even Elijah. Now I have said, go back. For this shall be dismantled, so that there will be no more corruption in the White House, says the Spirit.
Yeah, get down. We'll put a witch in the White House.
If you were watching the clip, Keith, if you were watching the clip, sorry, because I know the listeners were. Oh no!
Is not a constitution.
Whatever. Anyway, the guy is actually playing a synthesizer while he's doing this.
Yeah, I noticed.
And as he was doing, I just looked up because this is the first time I've watched it because you were just playing it earlier.
Uh-huh.
As he's going through his list, I keep noticing him looking down at the keyboard because he's supposed to. It looks like he's really into it and he's preaching, right? He's got his eyes closed, and every once in a while he opens it up, making sure he's doing what he's supposed to be doing down below. It just looked really weird and awkward. And then the witch in the White House thing pops up.
Just the way he's just so excited to say it.
A witch!
You're gonna put a witch in the White House. What was the name? Satan is going to put a witch in the White House. That was the name of the video, right?
Damn it.
Satan will put a witch in the White House. Self-proclaimed prophet. This guy, I don't know his name. I don't think he even says his name in the notes, but he's a self-proclaimed prophet. We were laughing earlier at one of the comments.
Kim Clement.
Kim Clement, okay. The very first comment on that video is, that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
1 hour ago.
But Kim Clement, that's Clement, for if anyone would like to search this wonderful man. But
Why do these fundamentalists always look like they're ready to explode into a million pieces?
yeah, there's not much to say about that, really. I guess I just thought it was entertaining.
My favorite part was when he says, we're going to kill the giant, this giant of socialism. As if you really, want to believe the teachings of Jesus, dude was pretty socialist.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but they'll jump on that as soon as you say that and be like, well, no, actually, he said this. But I'm sorry. The way I read into it, that dude was a socialist hippie.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he magically distributed fish to everyone.
Yeah.
He took just a couple fish and a couple loaves of bread and fed.
We can't have redistribution of fish.
No. That's wrong. Everybody needs to work for their own fish.
That's right.
I don't care how hungry they are.
My other favorite one was, how do we destroy this giant of secular humanism?
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to be able to do that, buddy.
And then, of course, there was the jazz guitar. That was pretty spectacular.
The
I was
bass
just
comes
going to go up to you hear the bass
slapping
slap in, and it's like, oh yeah, this guy's getting down and dirty. He must be cool. I know this guy knows what he's talking about. He's got a jazz band.
I would have liked to see some of the faces in the crowd, because you could hear them being like, come on, getting all like on the edge of their seats to hear the next prophecy.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point?
I don't know.
I can't even imagine it. You have to either screw loose or I guess I don't know, the power of indoctrination again is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Pretty high.
When was the last time you were in a church?
I had to actually physically just in a church or at a service.
At a service.
Oh, I don't. I can't remember honestly.
Do you remember what it was like?
No, I'm going to guess the last church service I attended was at one of the local larger churches, and it probably had a band similar to that, and it was probably very.
Is it very close to my home?
It is very close to your home.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you know what
Near a pharmacy.
institution I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yes.
Kind of wowing people with their technology and, look at what God has given us.
PowerPoint presentation for the sermon. You got the band in the background, getting everyone jazzed up, yeah. And they, they use because music is an emotional experience.
Right.
I think they use that to elicit emotions out of people.
Agreed.
To get people to think with their emotional brain as opposed to their logical.
The
brain.
head pastor of that church is a blood relative of mine,
Yeah,
Really?
and I know
I
him.
didn't know this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You knew it?
Yeah, I knew this. Yeah.
Yep. So, the I know the last time I actually attended a service was in 2011. This was when I was giving it one last shot to see if maybe I could.
You've told me about this.
The wife and I went. We went like a few times, and then
Was it this specified place?
it wasn't the same place.
Okay.
But then the it was kind of funny because on the way home one day we were just not really talking, and then I just kind of looked at her and said, "I don't really want to go to church anymore." And she said, "Oh, good, because neither do I."
Oh man, that whole feeling of you're going through the motions because the other person, you think they want to go. And
We
then-
both thought that the other person wanted to go. Like, it was brought up to us from a couple of friends who invited us, and they just kept inviting us, and we were going to, like, lunch with them afterwards, so it was kind of nice being able to do that with them. But the whole time, the more I'd go, the more the internal eye rolling was happening when I'm sitting in my seat. It's like, I am not in line with any of this. Why am I here?
Okay, since we're here, I'm curious because I've run into this situation a lot. Now, granted, I am not in the service industry.
Yeah,
However, you presently are.
yeah.
Can you tell me who the worst tippers are?
I can. They generally like to come in their fancy clothes on the first day of the week, and they're particularly pushy, particularly needy, and their tips generally hover around the 10 to 15% area. I hate to be this way. Because it is a stereotype.
Yeah.
And it's not all of them. There are plenty of people that come, that basically what I'm talking about, people who come to eat after church.
Mm-hmm.
Night church, morning services, you'll get that crowd, both lunch and dinner. And they really do. And I'm not saying, I can say this from experience, that is the worst day of the week to work. Because you're going to run, you're going, you can just feel it in the air that they just are looking at you like,
You weren't in church.
Maybe, I don't know. But there's an air of superiority coming from them, and I'm not, and again, it's not all of them, but there's a good portion of them, and they really, for some reason, especially in the dinner time, like to come about 15, 20 minutes before we close in big groups of 20 to 30, and make sure that we're there an hour after closing time.
The only reason I bring this up is because I've heard a lot of stories like this. Like I said, I've never been a waiter. I've never worked in the service industry other than briefly working in a movie theater, and I don't think that really counts. I wasn't working for tips or anything. But for instance, my wife and I were both at a Cracker Barrel establishment not far from here, and the table that was seated behind us, this was a Sunday. It was just after noon, and the table, it was a big group of probably 15, 20 people sitting behind us. And they had problem after problem after problem. The waitress who was helping them was also helping us. And my back is toward them. Hers was, she could see what everybody was doing. And I just hear. And they actually wound up leaving before we did. And the waitress, we both kind of looked at the waitress and said, "We're sorry." We apologized to the waitress for the table because they were making like these ridiculous requests.
Yeah.
And come to find out that they had barely given any money at all as a tip. I don't remember what she said, but it was way, way under what it should have been. And I mean, we tend to try to tip as more than what we're supposed to, just because I know that there are people who are dealing with people who are a lot worse than we are.
Well, yeah, there's an expectation too, like of that, because it should be common knowledge now when you're going out to eat, especially at a place where you're going to be served and waited on. You should know this person makes $2.13 an hour, and that they're paying their bills basically by what you leave them for waiting on you. You know that when you're going into a place like this, you're aware of this. So it's just really rude. Unless that person's a complete asshole to you, there's no reason not to leave them a good tip. I don't even care if they've struggled a little bit. I mean, if you can tell it's busy, you can tell they've got a bunch of tables. If you don't get your refill right when you want your refill, that's not a good reason to dock them.
Right.
And I'm a good server, so that doesn't happen quite often with me. But but it is unfortunately the case that the church crowd is the crowd that is the most demanding. They complain the most. And they unfortunately do leave the smallest amount of money.
You should totally take notes and try to do a little independent survey and figure out who it is that you deal with, and you know what I mean.
Oh
Just
yeah,
do a
I
little
see. I see
research
what you're saying.
project
Yeah.
on your own right. There was one of these things that was floating around on Facebook not too long ago where there was a folded up $1 or $100 bill or something in a tip book, and when the server got to it, they're all excited and they grab it and they pull it out and they realize it's not a real $100 bill, but it actually has a quote from the Bible on it, and they left absolutely nothing for this $120 ticket. The picture is right there with the
That's just insulting.
Why? Because it just blows my mind.
If this happened to me at the risk of even at the risk of being reprimanded for it, I would crumble that thing up and throw it at him and say, "I don't want this. That's bullshit."
What are you trying to sell me here? You should then. You know what you would do? You know what you should do when that happens? If that ever does happen to you, you should turn around and you should Beinghumanist them.
Yeah. Oh, I could. But it's not. It wouldn't even be about the biblical message that's on it. It would be about you not leaving me any fucking money for doing my job. That you know what your expectations are.
That is an insult. That's very insulting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had to bring it up because I hear those stories all the time, especially in another local city where they have a big conference every year. And from what I understand, that conference, when the conference is in town for, I believe it's like the Church of God or something, when the conference is in town, their local strip clubs get more business that time of year than any other place.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That's funny sidebar on that. There was when we men turn 21, I think most of us do at least check out the old strip club, and I did with a couple of my friends once, and I happened to run into somebody that I recognized there, and he was a deacon at the church that I grew up at, and I just thought this was hilarious. Like, he saw me, made eye contact with me, and quickly turned away, and he tried to avoid me the entire time. He was like I would say anything. Like, we're both in the same place. Like, we should have just like gave each other a little nod, like, yeah, I know what you're here for. But like, I never got, and I'm gonna sound like one of those guys, but I really just don't get the appeal of strip clubs. I think they're silly.
Actually, yeah, this could go on a long conversation too, I'm guessing. But I think at 21, I was all about it.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, it is. I don't have a problem with people going.
No,
but
not at all.
As I've gotten older, it's gotten to the point where it's actually it's a little more on the gross side of. It's just like, man, they're rubbing up on all these different people and people I don't know. I don't know. Does that sound horrible? Am I weird?
No,
No.
I think it is gross. I think it's, I don't know, I don't know why, I don't know if I can pinpoint this, but it's kind of sad to me as well. There's an element of that. I mean, for one, on both levels, on both the patron and on the employee. Like, this is a person, and the only thing you value, you're telling them the only value that they're adding is their physical appearance.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of sad to me. I mean, they have thoughts, they have opinions, they have, but yeah, I don't care about any of that. I just care about your physical appearance. I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
Wow, 3 guys here, and I don't know, 10 years ago probably would have been a different story. But yeah, I don't know. I guess at my age, I feel the same way. But that doesn't mean I'm a conservative by any means. I think it's just more,
I just don't get. They don't appeal to me. That's all.
Yeah, it's just I've changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, I don't care. I mean, you can go. I'm not even saying that I probably won't wind up at one before I die. But
Oh yeah, there's always the possibility.
It's just yeah.
There are a lot of bachelor parties held at those, so I think a lot of my friends are married now, though.
Yeah,
Most of them. I got a couple that are still.
I'm not much of a drinker anymore, and I have my wife, and we do things together, and I don't know. I live my life a little bit differently now. Not to say there's anything wrong with it. I just live my life differently now.
I'm still a drinker, but only so that I can be a beer snob.
Oh, well, now, on those terms, while I say I'm not much of a drinker, when I do go drink, I try to find a drink I've never drank before.
Yeah.
I do appreciate a good beer
Great
when
beer.
I haven't had one for a while.
Right.
You're a beer
You're
snob,
a beer
too.
snob, too, aren't you?
I am, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to become a wine snob as well.
I love me some wine. And
but-
scotch. I'm a big scotch guy.
You let us try a wine that one day. We had dinner at your house that was freaking incredible, if I'm not mistaken. It had a chocolatey taste to it.
Oh yeah, that was a dessert wine. It was
it was good.
it was coconut. I had a coconut. It was like a chocolatey coconut dessert wine,
Oh, yeah.
and it was quite delicious.
Bonerific.
It would be very easy to get wasted on it, I think.
Gotta be careful.
But anyway,
Yep.
as we are an hour and 42 minutes into this one,
Oh, of course. We just can't do it, can we?
I
I was skimming through our shows the other day, and I saw we had one that was an hour and 9 minutes long. How in the hell
our
did
very
we do
first
that?
one was just over an hour.
Yeah.
Our very first episode.
Guys, I think we just need to resign to the fact that our shows are going to be pretty long.
We haven't crossed over 2 hours yet.
Now, let's try not to do that.
There are some people who do that, but we haven't done that yet.
Thank God I'm atheist that has done that.
I don't know.
Their shows hit the hour and a half mark quite often.
Yeah. So
So-
does Thinking Atheist, but I can't think of the guy's name, but I follow him. But he routinely has 3+ hour shows.
Mm-hmm.
And on a side note, before we actually close this thing out, there was I just had a brain fart.
Oh.
I feel incredibly awkward now. Okay, so anyway, I don't even think I started a show off with how you can contact us and stuff, but
No. It'll be in the liner notes.
yeah, it'll be in the liner notes.
Is a brain fart like when a single neuron just passes gas? You think the other? Where does it come? Does it come out of the dendrites or the axon?
You know what? What I would really appreciate when I would really appreciate your brain actually making a noise.
Yeah. So, and you can only hear it in your own head.
Okay, so yeah, you can find us beinghumanist.podcast@gmail.com. Email us there. Find us on facebook.com/beinghumanist.podcast, youtube.com/beinghumanistpodcast, no dot, as always, and Twitter, which I was a little slow on this last week, as most people probably know, because it took me an extra 3 or 4 days to get the damn podcast out from last week. But yes, Twitter at Beinghumanist.PC, which Keith started. I'm the only one that seems to still be using, but that's okay. Oh, we didn't really talk about Cosmos either, but hey, it's like 9 days away, I think, is the...
As of today's
tomorrow.
March
It's 1 week
1st.
from tomorrow.
It's 1 week from, so it's 8 days away.
1
as
week
of
from
today.
Sunday, 9 p.m. Hope you watch it. It'll be a
Learn something.
really wonderful thing. I think we're going over to Keith's house to watch the very first episode. I'm hoping that you're pretty excited about this too, Greg.
I'm incredibly stoked about this.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I'm really hoping that it gets put up on Hulu or Netflix or one of those. We don't watch a lot of live television, but we'll have to make a point for this.
Absolutely.
I'm just hoping for future shows, in case I miss anything, that it will be available streaming somewhere.
So, yeah, check out the new Cosmos. I believe we'll probably have our buddy Justin come back on the show the day after, so we can gush about it. we may make the whole damn show about the Cosmos. That could be fun.
Could be, yeah. I'm sure I'll have a lot to say, too.
Yeah, so email us. Tell us what you thought about Cosmos. Maybe we'll read some of your emails online or on the show. Yeah, that's really pretty much all I got to say, other than thank you, Greg, for coming out to us as an atheist today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the show.
It's pretty fantastic. So far, we have so many friends, and we've had a good number of them so far, and we'll have more.
I hope so.
We need some. We need more people.
The goal is to
too.
think.
Yeah.
Think.
Oh yes, and please keep thinking.
Keep thinking.
Don't trust everything we say either. We could be full of shit.
Oh, yeah. We're just guys shooting the shit. That's all it is.
So, in honor of the fact that the Cosmos is coming, we will end the show with a little kneel. Keep thinking.
What is the most astounding fact you can share with us about the universe?
The most astounding fact
The most astounding fact.
is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high-mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and then exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life itself. These ingredients become part of gas clouds that condense, collapse, form the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So that when I look up at the night sky, and I know that, yes, we are part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. There's a level of connectivity. That's really what you want in life. You want to feel connected. You want to feel relevant. You want to feel like you're a participant in the goings-on of activities and events around you. That's precisely what we are, just by being alive.